Hi, welcome. Let's have a chat. Because we need to have a chat. Us as a collective. Just talking. Having discussion. And we know we have a chat a lot, but those chats are very 30 seconds long. They're not long enough, okay? A lot is happening in the world, okay? And it's affecting our body physically, because we are beyond the mental health awareness. We're all like, okay, what's happening to our bodies and what's happening to our environment and what's going on in the world. I'm not talking just about the heat that is going on. I'm talking about what is affecting us, and the water we drink, and the water that we bathe in, to the food that we eat, to our sewage system, to the food that we grow, how it grows, and everything in between. And the war. A lot about the war, but we talk about the war like later on during our chat. I just want to talk about how disruptive this system is. This parasitic system is to the well-being of everybody, okay? It is literally trying to absorb as much as it can so the system can stay alive, so it can still say that it's the best system and it's the best thing that can happen for everyone, you know? And I was thinking about, is there a way that there's a money system can exist without that money system being called capitalism? I don't know. I'll probably just let me know in the comments, because I'm not going to ask this question on I'm not going to ask this question on the internet. I'm not going to ask this question either way to a fucking robot, or I'm not gonna ask this question to a random person, because the random person will not I can do research, and I'm not lazy to do the research. It's not the capacity of me doing the research. It is just like how to be so sure of credible sources. But I'm not talking about that. It's just like, why does this money system has to be simply about absorbing and not giving back, not taking care back, so the system can stay alive? No, the system cannot even feed itself, which is very strange. How can a system cannot feed itself? It's always like putting out, so to make sure that it's not normal, you know? It is not. When my thoughts are everywhere. There's two types of spending: the spending of power and control, and the type of spending, I think it's the same type of spending that the United States government that is doing right now. Because the United States government spending, okay, it's mostly to stay a global power. I was watching a animated short documentaries here on this beautiful platform the other day, and I saw that the Roman Empire, in the documentary, the Roman Empire never conquered Deutschland, which is today's modern day Germany. And now I saw another video on this wonderful platform, YouTube, that showed me that it's an American researcher, you know, and this American researcher was telling where are all the military based around the world of the United States government. And when I saw that, I was like, why is there so many military based in Germany? Because that power that was from the Roman Empire that transferred itself to the Americas, that became the United States, the States United, And now to really have a type of social power, it's like, oh wow, it's like something is happening here. It's really have to wake up people as a collective. What I mean by collective is, like the 5D new earth thing, things that are going to happen. I'm talking about that type of thing. But going back to this system that just wants to absorb so it can stay alive and keep growing and growing and growing, which is like not natural to the human nature. Okay, it is not just simply one entity. Okay, for all these spiritual people, I want y'all to understand it is just not one entity that is having all this power and it's controlling everyone like a puppet. It is a system. Okay, they all serve multiple entities. Okay, and they camouflage their names, but this system is in place by really deranged individuals with deranged interests, and those individuals are coming from long bloodlines from, I would say, I don't want to call it the Middle East, but for the sake of this chat that we having, let's call it the Middle East for now until I remember the other name that they want to be called. Bloodlines that come from the Middle East and from Europe, especially like with the Roman Empire and the Greek Empire and whatsoever. And those individuals that comes from those bloodlines, it really is messed up, because the way that they follow their lineage by who was the father of who. You get what I mean? And and they really like use these women and coerce these women to make them like carriers of this bloodline and having control of the bloodline. It's really weird, and it's really like super scary. It's not super scary, it's annoying. And it's annoying, and this annoyance can become fear, and I don't want this annoyance to become fear in every other people. The thing is, us as a collective, we need to participate in the system to be able just to have the bare minimum to stay alive. Okay. The thing is, I used to think we needed to use like the same type of violent measures that they are doing to the collective around the world. We need to give them back. But here's the thing. I understand about the war, and what's happening in Yemen, what's happening in with Lebanon and Palestine and everything else, and Iran and Iraq and everyone else in the Middle East. I understand about the war, but the thing is, for the people that are collectively understanding, there's a way out of the system, and it has to be a mass exit, a mass separation. Okay, and that separation is out of survival. That's the thing. That separation is, I don't know what to say. I don't know how to explain it. Yeah, I don't know how to explain it, but it's like a mass separation, a separation of the system. And the way that I see, as a person that is part of the system, the way that I see, someone has all the power. Let's say, just like a random example, I would say, like, it will not be like a perfect a perfect utopia. I don't want it to be like an utopia. I just want to put throwing seeds out there. Okay, I'm throwing seeds out there for us as a collective to see, is it feasible or not? Is it doable or not? So this one person who is a multi-millionaire, okay, they have all this wealth, but this person as a multi-millionaire, they don't want to participate in a system, but they don't want to be isolated by being off-grid alone. So what this multi-millionaire can do is build a off-grid community. And what I mean by off-grid is like, they build houses, they build a sewage system, they build renewable system, like clean renewable system, houses that can be renovated through with raw materials or materials around the earth, no need like for some special woods or anything. Building a community, building like grocery stores and whatsoever. Here's the thing, in this off-grid, evaluate a community to go live in this off-grid community. But here's the thing, the people still work their 9 to 5, or they work as a part-time. They work part-time at their job, and they don't need to be worrying about paying electricity. They don't need to be worried about paying for the rent, a mortgage. They don't need to be worrying about that. They don't need to be worrying about buying groceries. And by living in this, how would I say, in this off-grid community, quote unquote, they still participate, taking care of the land, taking care of the community, but also the stress factor are reduced by like at least 50% if they don't have like the people that are the people that are in the community. The people that are in the community participating, their stress level are reduced by 50% if they don't have any other illnesses, like physical illnesses, or difficulties with mental illness or whatsoever. But here's the thing, here in this Western world, is it the best solution to build this type of community? I don't think so. But what I do think is that a lot of people who have strong influence and strong power will need to separate themselves from this global power. And when I say global power, I'm not just talking about the United States government. The United States government is also attached to other individuals who come from powerful families and that come from centuries of bloodlines where they were like having some type of control. You know what I mean? Try to instigate the end of the world, which is weird, very weird. Trying to instigate something blowing up and everybody dies is really weird. Everywhere around the world, to have a type of control on the environment. When I talk about how the heat is El Nino and how the heat is affecting everyone's livelihood, and also the food that we eat, and also how we take care of our animals and our plants and everything else. I want you all to understand the everyday people, you and I, especially you and I, average life, trying just to enjoy this life on earth. I want you to understand, 100% to understand, that it is not, we are part of the system, we have some type of responsibility, okay? But we're not the one who are instigating and making sure that the problem persists, We can do much more than that. We can be much more revolting than that. You know, we can do but when you are occupied in your daily lives and you just wanna. The point that I'm trying to say is the ones who are disrupting every type of environment on Earth, every type, from the northern Canada to the oil rigs in West Africa, in near Nigeria, in the oceans, the oil rigs in the oceans, the way that they are farming in Australia is a natural type of farming. Is the land is suitable for that type of farming? This type of farming here in the United States is that type of farming is suitable. The mass deforestation, because we need to produce and build and build and produce and build and produce and build. The thing is, I don't want us as a collective to say we are responsible for it. No. It is not. We have our part of responsibility, but it is their fault. It is their fault for pushing us in this system. There's always a solution, but it takes a huge amount of energy to go against the head of the system, because you don't want to lose your livelihood. You don't want to lose your family. You don't want to lose the fact that you want to have access to drinkable water, because you want to be against those people that are trying to sell you a lifestyle. Understand, a lifestyle that goes against the natural cycle of nature. It takes a huge amount of energy. It takes a huge amount of energy, and that energy it's a physical energy, but it comes from the ethers. For my spiritual people, follow me. You understand that the energy comes from source, from spirit, from power of God, whatever you call it, and then that energy becomes physical. That energy becomes material, so it takes a lot of energy to go against the system. But right now, everyone is observing. It is not just in the Western world, not even in the Eastern world. It's everywhere. In Europe, even in everywhere, in all the countries in Africa, even in all the countries in the Caribbean, even in South America, there's a mass detachment and separation of women and men. This mass detachment from this 40 years old young. I would say every woman under 50 years old, every woman around the world, 50 years old and under, okay, that can provide for themselves and realize that they can be fulfilled without a male companion. They can be fulfilled without a male companion, and they don't need to be producing children, and they don't need a man to have children. There's a mass separation that the women are doing, 50 years old and under. All of these women, me included, are just separating ourselves naturally. We're not saying that men are the problem. I'm not saying the men are the problem. It is the system that sold something, that put it in the bloodline of men and telling them this is how things should be. But the fact that women can provide for themselves and to go to school, get educated, and make a living for themselves through this system or outside of the system also, outside of the system, you know, and trusting themselves and making it without men. And the fact that those women are supported by other women, it actually, like, this mass detachment is like, if I'm going to emotionally attach myself, let me emotionally attach myself to a friendship that can last longer than the average marriage in North America, if you get what I mean. And the way I see it, it's a sense of relief. The fact there are many countries that are worried about the birth rate, you know, they're worried about that. But why are you worried about that? It's like this like, the system didn't realize that this type of a system can only survive itself through artificial means. Okay? It's the thing, women are not artificial. Women are very real. They are very present in their bodies. They are very in tune with their cycles and with nature. Very in tune with nature. Very in tune. You gotta understand, why would women continue to birth children if they're not respected? I would say, like, the centuries old bloodline that are from Europe, that are from the Middle East. I would say Southeast Asia, and also from the East Asia, that also included. I would say, like, those powerful families from those bloodlines, I don't think they are having multiple children. But I do see it here in the Western world for the new rich people. New rich people around the world, they're having like 11 children because they think that they are the elite. Because they are in contact with those centuries old bloodlines, you know, because they have all this money and this power and this influence. And they realize, like, oh snap, those old rich people, like, from those bloodlines that have been in power and in control, have been, let me do my thing also, you know. But coming back to the woman, like the everyday woman, if they cannot be respected in a relationship, if they cannot be respected in a marriage, if they cannot be respected in their own families, if they cannot be respected in our own cultural tradition, why should I continue it and make my daughters suffer and make my son the person who's going to kill me? Why should I continue this? There's no need for me to continue this. And, you know, women are not naturally, like, humans are not naturally suicidal. If they see they can make a living for themselves without the need and approval of a male around their environment, they're going to make that living for themselves. That's what we are doing. I am sure there are many women that do want to have children, that do want have a marriage with men, like a partnership. I'm sure there's many women that do want to have multiple children, but they have so much self-respect that if they have to live in the system that we are in, they're gonna put themselves first. They're not gonna be a pot where everyone can put things in and take out and nobody take care of the pot. It's a metaphor. I'm not comparing woman to pot. I myself a woman, you know. Women are natural vessels. The everyday women are naturally a natural vessel. And to be this kind of vessel, if you can put yourself first, taking care of each other, that's also great. But the birth rate is declining because of the environment and the system. There's nothing sustainable to live with. These big corporations who are under control of these powerful people who are serving specific entities so they can stay powerful, okay? These powerful people that are disrupting the ocean, that are disrupting the natural current of the ocean, that are bombing the ocean, they keep exploring the ocean, they keep planting seeds in the soil that naturally doesn't receive this type of plant. They keep disrupting the system, and then these powerful people are like, why is nothing working anymore? Everything should be working because we said so, because you said so. It doesn't work like that. They are instigating the end of the world with a big kaboom, but it's not gonna happen. There's going to be a separation, and that separation will be unifying people across culture. Like, people will be preserving their tradition and cultures that are not harmful for women, or they will be changing the tradition and renaming some type things in their own tradition, so it cannot be harmful for women but protective of women, and put the woman at the center without harming the men. Because when you put the well-being of a woman in the tradition at the center, everyone gets a benefit, because women naturally take care of other people. Women naturally take care of, when I say naturally, it's very loose. It is not in the concrete. It's not like solid. It's very loose. No matter how like selfish a woman is, she has an innate thing to take care of something. It's either if she's a CEO, it's her company. If she has multiple animals, it's her animals. If she has, it's her friendship. If she doesn't have children, it's her friendship. Like naturally, women take care of something. And sometimes taking care of themselves, is taking care of their own community. But that's not the point that I'm saying. This separation, this mass separation that we are seeing across cultures. It is not just in the Western culture, in the Eastern culture. It is everywhere. We see it everywhere. Not everyone. They're saying like, what is the point to live and grow and continue this culture and tradition if we are not respected? There are some cultures and tradition that are harmful also to young men and men. Some cultures and some tradition needs to be changed for the evolution of humanity. So this mass separation that we're seeing, and that's gonna keep on growing, this mass separation will definitely shock a lot of people. What I'm saying is, what I'm trying to say is, we don't need to use the same tools of violence that these people in power are using upon us to use against them. That's what I'm saying. There are other tools. There are traditional tools, and there are new tools that we can create collectively, that we can create to live independently and separate ourselves from the system. absolute separation from the system. It is important to know that. So, where do we start? I don't know. I don't have all the questions. We're having the discussion together. We're talking about it. And what does it look like? I don't know. One thing for sure is that I'm observing two things. I'm observing the spiritual world, and I'm observing the behavior of people who are not, who are saying that they're not spiritual, but they are actually doing the changes in their own communities. Okay, so I'm observing the spiritual part, and I'm observing the communities who are starting to change, and I'm trying to see if there are bridges that can be built so they can become one. You know, like a snake, like two snakes together, they can collaborate together and become one. You know what I mean? These two bridges, like, so bridges, those bridges can be built and be like strong bridges that can be repaired along the centuries, but those bridges are not easily breakable. You know, those bridges needs to be solid. So I'm just observing what's going on in the world. We're gonna talk about it more the more I see what I see on social media, and I'll be saving some videos and we'll talk about these videos together. So thanks for talking to me. I need a friend to talk to. I need not just a friend, I need friends to talk to. If you have paragraphs to write, please write. Please join. Please, let's grow this community together. We didn't want to make this happen. Let's make it happen. I don't know how. We have to make it happen. And we'll talk later. So we'll talk on Wednesday and we'll talk on Friday. So Wednesdays there are every essays, and Friday is just the vlogs. It's me as an artist. So yeah, it was a good talk. Did you get where I was going? Because I know where I'm going. Okay, bye.